Ladies and gentlemen, due to technical difficulties, this week's episode will not feature Son of Godzilla as planned, but Yongary instead. We hope to have Son of Godzilla ready for you next week. Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4. Monster movie.
Fun time, go! Monster movie.
Fun time, go. Monster
Movie.
Fun time,
Go!
Monster movie. Fun time, go.
With Precious D and Honeybee.
Fun time, go!
Hello, friends and neighbors, and welcome to the show. I am Precious D, and with me, as always, is my imaginary friend, Honeybee. Say hello to the folks, Honeybee.
Hello to the folks, Honeybee. Oh.
Today, Honeybee, we have a special guest coming up later in the show.
Ooh, tell me all about it.
We're going to be talking to Jason Vey, who is a role-playing game designer.
Oh, yeah.
He has a company called Lair Games, and he also does work for Troll Lord Games. But he has, from Lair, a game called Night Shift Veterans of the Supernatural Wars, which is all about fighting monsters, which is how I've shoehorned it into the premise of this show.
Very nice. Very nice.
I mean, most role-playing games involve fighting some kind of monster, but this is like a modern, urban supernatural, like Buffy or the show Supernatural or Charmed, that kind of a setting.
Very cool.
So we'll be talking to him later in the show, but now let's get on with the movie.
Let's do it.
Today we are talking about a Korean movie, a South Korean movie. It's only the third one, only the third monster movie, kaiju movie that South Korea made. The first one is Lost. The second one is the one we mentioned before, Space Monster Wangamani, that is about to be re-released, but we haven't got a hold of a copy of it yet. So this one is Yongary from 1967. It's in color, 80 minutes, directed by Kim Kai-duk. The budget was 13 to 30 million won. That's kind of a large range there. The featured monster is Yongary, and this movie was remade in 1999 as Yongary with 2 G's.
Ooh.
And then that version was recut and upgraded in 2001 and released as the 2001 upgraded version, but then released in America and other places under the name Reptilian.
Oh, that makes sense. Because when I was looking for this movie, I found it on, I think it was it Prime? Amazon Prime?
Yeah.
But then when I clicked on it, the cover changed and said I was watching Reptilian.
Okay.
And I was like,
Yeah.
no. And I went back and I had to I Googled it. I even put the year in. I was like, was this because it was different? And it showed the first thing. It was so confusing. But that I thought, okay, that makes sense.
We're doing Yongary with 1 G.
Yeah.
Then that's Yongary with 2 G's. This one is available on Prime and Plex and Paramount Plus. The other one is available on Tubi and Vudu and Prime. And the original was done on MST3K. They say the new one's a reimagining, so maybe it's a lot different. I don't know. We'll get to that when we get to 1999. The cast, I hope you have it written in your notes because I don't know who some of these people are.
I have the important people's names, I think, mostly.
All right, because I have Oh Young-il as Il-woo, Kwang Ho-lee as Yu-young, Nam Jung-im as Yu-sun, or Yu-sun-ah, Lee Soon-jae as Yoon Kwang-nam, Moon Kang as Kim Yuri, and Cho Kyung-min as Yongary. So I know who Yoon Sun-ah is. So like in Japanese and Chinese. The Koreans apparently put the family name first, and then the personal name. So I'm not sure which is Yu Yong and which is Yu Kwang Nam. I have no idea which of those is which. Suna is the girl.
Yeah, Suna is the sister or the daughter, depending on
well, is
who
she
you're relating her to.
She's the older sister of the boy
of Icho.
Whom that's the thing. None of them are. He must be Yu Icho, but they don't. He's not credited that way. So I don't know if Yu Yong or Yu Kwang Nam, which of them is Icho. But he's in the same family, so he must be Yu Icho. I guess it doesn't matter. But the summary doesn't say. It doesn't say. And I guess I'm not sure if I guess the astronaut must be Kim Yuri. So I don't know.
We'll see. I have quite a few notes for this movie, but I guess we'll just see if I have them written down as we go.
Okay. Well, we start with a shitty outer space shot of the moon and the Earth being out of proportion and too close to each other, and clearly just, toys.
All the toys, all the time.
In South Korea, I'm reading the Wikipedia summary. Thank you, Wikipedia.
Wikipedia.
In South Korea, a family gathers for the wedding of an astronaut. It just starts with the bride and groom in their just married car driving away from a rocket base, from like the Korean version of Cape Canaveral or Cape Kennedy. So apparently the wedding ceremony was at the rocket base.
Well, when you're an astronaut, it's just like when I was a bartender, all of the girls would like have their baby showers at the bar.
Oh my goodness.
Not like while it was open and stuff like that, but I just mean like when you're like, he's an astronaut, it's like cheap, nice wedding venue of something.
Well, the rocket is right there on the launch pad, like it's ready to go.
It is his wedding night.
I guess that's where they would keep it.
Just kidding.
So they drive off, and then the families stand around talking and tease Suna about when she's going to get married and if she's going to marry Il-woo. And she says that would be like marrying a computer. She seems to have something going on with this scientist guy, but is embarrassed by it or some shit. I don't know. She's kind of a jerk.
Yeah, I think she's like just embarrassed.
Yeah. And then, because he's not a cool astronaut, I guess. But I'm not clear what her relationship is, if she's the sister to the woman that just got married or what. Anyway, the couple that's driving off, though, wonder why Ichi didn't show up. And this little shit has somehow gotten a mile or two up the road by himself and has a itch ray or a headache ray. What is it's itches, isn't it? Yeah.
Some sort of experimental itchy light.
Yeah, he ambushes them. He shoots this light at them, causing them to itch. And then Il-woo comes along behind them as they jump out of the car and are scratching like mad. And he quickly figures out what's going on and
doesn't
calls
he call
for Ichi.
Il-woo his uncle? Or no, okay, that's later. Sorry, I remember. Never mind. Scratch that.
Okay. So he knows what's going on, and he calls Ichi out of the bushes where he's hiding, and then takes him home. So I hope he's his uncle. He doesn't call anybody to say, "Hey, Ichi's with me. He's okay." I know everybody's been wondering when he didn't show up on his own to the wedding, or when he wandered off from the wedding.
It's kind of a theme for the whole movie for Icho to just disappear or do whatever the fuck he wants. Like, he kind of always just sneaks off and is apparently really good at it, because it's like a theme of the whole movie.
Yeah, Icho, of course, is the Panchito of this movie.
He's our Ichito, which he's our second Ichito. He's our Korean Ichito.
Yes. He is the precocious young boy who gets into all kinds of shenanigans.
And he's about 8. That is a direct quote from him when someone asks how old he
says,
is.
I'm about 8?
I'm about 8, yeah.
Give or take a little.
Yeah. Also, while we're on this subject, the person who dubbed Icho's voice, I kind of felt like he... how do I put this nicely? Like, it kind of looked like he wasn't watching the
The lip movement?
the lip, yeah, not because of what he was saying to the lip movement, but just because like the acting looked really good. Like the character, the kid's like really into it. He's making like lots of facial expressions and stuff, and then the little kid who's dubbing it is so monotone and kind of shit. Not trying to be rude.
Well,
Is that rude? I'm not trying.
No. It appears that the Korean version of this film is considered partially lost, so I guess we won't ever get to see the original performance, the undubbed performance. So that's a shame. So the astronaut is trying to have his wedding night. He's kind of sleepy and not that into it. But then before he can get into it, he gets a call, and his father-in-law, I think, who's also his boss, calls him away on an assignment.
He's like, hey, I need you to come get in this toy rocket.
He needs to get in a rocket to go monitor a nuclear test in the Middle East? That's not what rockets are for.
They are today.
They have planes for that. So he has to go, and he promises him he'll get 2 whole weeks off once he gets back. The test triggers an earthquake that shifts the epicenter to the heart of Korea? I don't think that's exactly... The authorities initially withhold this information from the public until they are sure where the earthquake will strike. That's not exactly... They describe it as a moving earthquake. Mm-hmm. Not moving in the normal sense of it starts one place and then waves move out from it.
Yeah.
But like the epicenter itself is moving around, and they don't know where it's going to end up. Of course, we know, because we've seen these movies, that there's a monster underground causing this. The nuclear test has woken up a monster, and now it's crawling around, causing earthquakes.
And they're like, this earthquake is defying every natural law of known to man. And we're like, yep, sure.
So this was a little bit of a different thing, rather than it just popping up straight away for it to move around underground for a little bit. Lots of times they move around underwater. Mm-hmm. Before they pop up, but this is the first time underground.
We did get a little teaser at about 25 minutes in, when we just see his little like back spikies, but we don't actually see the full monster, which I really like when they do that. I like when they give like just enough teasers to be like, don't worry, it's coming, but we don't see the monster all the way right away. You know, it's good. Right. I like that. He has a little bit of a stegosaurus back thing going on.
Yeah, he's got back spines.
Oh, but while they're doing this whole like earthquake thing, and they're talking about how this earthquake is like doing it, and they're like, someone says something like, oh, there were these fables that my grandparents told me about Yongary, and like he kind of like, you know, throws it out there that there's that there was a fable going on when he was a kiddo,
which I'm pretty sure there's not. Just like in Godzilla, where they say, oh, there's this old legend, but it's not an actual Korean legend.
Right. Yeah, this is probably the best Godzilla ripoff that we've seen so far.
Okay. Once it reaches the Yongary province, don't hold me to that pronunciation, the authorities impose martial law in the area.
You know, like you do, government, pew, pew, pew.
The quake strikes Panmunjom, where a photographer takes pictures of the ground splitting, which reveals a giant creature moving inside. This is the little glimpse you're talking about. Mm-hmm. The photographer manages to get away, but crashes his car due to the quake. The photographer manages to reach the authorities and deliver the photographs of the creature before succumbing to his injuries. The authorities name the creature Yongary, based on an old Korean fable about a monster connected to earthquakes. When South Korea is being evacuated, the South Korean army is dispatched to the Inwang area to attack Yongary, but with no success. So just like in all these movies, they roll in and make with the bang bang, but it doesn't do any good.
Yep, government with the pew pew.
Yeah. Il-woo, a young scientist, decides to go to Seoul to find a weakness in Yongary. His girlfriend, Suna, who is not officially confirmed as his girlfriend at this point, opposes this, but he goes anyway. Suna and her younger brother Icho pursue Il-woo to try to stop him. Yongary eventually reaches Seoul and causes complete destruction.
I want to say too that Yongary looks really good. Like, I really like this costume, everything that they added, like the tusks and the horn and the tail whippies.
Yeah, he's a basic bipedal Godzilla sort of shape, and he has spines on his back like Godzilla, but he's got a horn in the middle of his head.
And his snoot is a little bit longer too.
And did you say tusks? Yeah, he has tusks.
And he has fingies.
Fingies?
Yeah, like little individual fingers.
Yeah, his back spines do look a lot like a Stegosaurus. I think more so than Godzilla.
Than Godzilla. Totally.
And he's got the kind of glowing eyes that a lot of them have that just light up from the inside. Yongary eventually reaches Seoul and causes complete destruction. During the rampage, Ilwoo and Suna lose Icho and walk around trying to find him. The military suggests using guided missiles against Yongary, but the authorities fear the missiles might do more damage than the monster and may destroy the landmarks of old Korea. However, the authorities decide that Korea's future is more important and agree to use the guided missiles. I guess that's some kind of political statement happening there. Talking about the future of Korea as opposed to the past. Icho manages to escape through the city's sewers. I really liked this moment with Icho lifting up the manhole cover.
Yeah,
and then cutting to the model, and we see the little tiny manhole cover on the model lifted up.
Yeah.
Although he's got those manhole covers are kind of heavy, though. He's pretty strong to get that thing up and get underneath it. But I just found that really charming, the little tiny manhole cover lifting up and closing. But yeah, he ends up down in the sewers and then escapes through the sewers and reaches an oil refinery where he finds Yongary drinking oil and gasoline. Icho turns off the main valve because he just somehow knows.
Yeah, I thought this was weird. I was like, all of a sudden he started like twisting wheels and pulling levers. Like, you're about 8. How do you know what the fuck you're doing?
Right. But he turns it off, and that causes Yongary to go berserk and destroy a tank that triggers a chemical reaction that makes Yongary itch and scratch.
And start choking, question mark? I thought this was weird because it didn't look like he was choking, but the subtitles said choking. It was like Yongary chokes. And I was like, what?
Icho then returns to Ilwoo's house to tell him what happened at the refinery. Ilwoo then reveals this discovery to the authorities and urges them not to use the guided missiles because they will give him more energy. I don't know how he knows that. Well, they assumed that he was drinking the oil and the gas to somehow give him energy. Did he breathe fire at some point?
Yes. Yeah, he has like a fire breath, which in this movie, there's a lot of really cool like catty cornered camera angles, or like camera angles where like the camera is down looking up at something, but at like kind of a catty corner. When there's like chaos in the street, we see this. There's a lot of moments where we see this like weird kind of cool camera angle that we've never seen before. And I was kind of annoyed that they didn't use this camera angle to kind of hide the metal piece in his throat. Like we could see the like lighter part. It was kind of annoying.
I was just gonna say,
yeah,
that they had some bad angles when he's breathing the fire. We can see the mechanism that the fire's coming out of, the tube, the big metal circle inside his mouth that's shooting the fire.
That was like my only complaint about the costume.
They just had to change the angle a little for us not to see that.
Exactly. I felt like with the kooky camera angles that they used throughout the film, there was kind of no excuse for them to just dead on pan into this like mechanism. It was kind of annoying. Yeah. But that's my only complaint about the entire costume. So I'd say that's pretty good considering what we've seen in the past.
So Ilwoo's claims are brushed off and they proceed with the missile plan regardless. Ilwu then goes to work on a chemical to defeat Yongary using a precipitate of ammonia. Yongary is then struck with Ilwu's ammonia and missiles, which is enough to put him temporarily to sleep. However, Ilwu believes the ammonia needs more work. And then fucking Icho goes and gets the itch light.
Oh, Icho.
And shines it on Yongary and wakes him up. He was laying there sleeping, harmless, shines it right in his face, and his eye opens up. To Icho's amusement, Yongary then begins dancing, and Icho dances with him.
This is my favorite part of the entire movie. It is so cute. I don't understand it. I don't know why we're doing it, but I fucking loved it.
And I think they play some music to go along with it.
They definitely do. It's adorable.
Hey! He's dancing! Go, Yongary,
What's that? Come here.
Hey! Leave me alone! What do you think you're doing? Leave me alone, will you?
Come
Get
on.
your big mitts off me, will you?
Get out of
Come on,
here.
come on. Let me
Chicken, you
go.
little brat.
So, but then Yongary returns to his rampage. So thanks a lot, Icho.
Well,
Ilwu.
it's not Icho's fault. Like, he's like, so what happens is they're dancing and Icho's having a good time. And then these two guys come up and they're like, oh shit, what the hell? And they grab Icho and Icho's like, hey, leave me alone, no, get out. And then they start shooting and shit
Right.
at Yongary. And so then he
Yes.
freaks out. Like, he was dancing and having a great time. And then these fucking douchebags came along and pissed him off again. He was having fun with Icho. So don't
Yeah.
blame Icho, because he did wake him up, but he was dancing with them. He was having a good time.
Ilwu loads the finalized ammonia onto a helicopter and dumps it on Yongary in the Han River, where Yongary collapses and dies. Although apparently in the original Korean version, he does not die.
Well, it sounds like he doesn't die because Icho, like, it looks like he's bleeding out of his butthole into the river, which I don't know why they made it look like this, but he's like bleeding out of his ass and like twitching. And Icho is like, no, stop. Do you have to do it another time? Because we could just like let him live. Like, he was dancing and having a good. And they're like, oh, you're right. Maybe he was just looking for food and he wasn't trying to hurt us. And so they like talk about it as if they don't kill him. Like, as if they are going to go over him one more time and kill him, but then decide against it because they're not sure if maybe he was just like looking for food or whatever. So they talk about it as if they don't.
This says the following morning, Ilwu is commended for his role in defeating Yongary. However, he cites Icho as the real hero for providing him with the information of Yongary's eating habits. I guess they mean eating the oil and the gas.
Yeah.
In the end, Icho opines that Yongary was not evil by nature, but rather simply looking for food. And aren't we all simply looking for food?
Don't feed the kaijus.
Okay, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, friends and neighbors, we have another special interview today. With me, I have Jason Vey of Lair Games to talk about his monster fighting game, Night Shift: Veterans of the Supernatural Wars. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So, normally we talk about kaiju movies on here, but we do sometimes talk about other kinds of monsters, and we've talked about games and monster-related things before, so I wanted to have you on to talk about Night Shift. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, Night Shift is it's a horror and urban fantasy RPG. that is designed to use very simple, intuitive mechanics that are going to look familiar to almost every gamer in the world. And it lets you play any kind of horror or urban fantasy game you want. It can handle everything from Buffy the Vampire Slayer to to Lovecraftian horror to The Exorcist to The Walking Dead. Whatever you want, it can do it.
I like how you stopped yourself from saying the name of that other game.
That other game, yes.
Yeah, speaking of Night Shift, Day Shift just premiered on Netflix recently, and you could totally use this game to play in that setting.
Yeah, I have that in my watch list. I haven't actually fired it up yet.
It's all right. It's entertaining. It's fun. Maybe we'll put that on the list for 31 Days of Horror this year. We tend to do a mixture of classic and new stuff. But yeah, it was a perfectly serviceable movie, but would make good inspiration for a Night Shift game. So this game uses what you're calling the Ogre's engine system, what have you?
Yes, Ogre's stands for old school generic role-playing engine system. But really, Tim and I just like to be able to say that the game's powered by ogres.
Yeah.
So
by about 4 or 5 ogres on a big wheel turning it around to power it.
So I mean, actually, the game came about. It's really, I have to give credit to Tim Brannon, my co-author on this, a great deal of credit, because I keep a very, very irregular, like I update it a couple times a year, old school gaming blog called Wasted Lands Fantasy. And I had done a blog entry on how you could use the original white box D&D rules to run a Buffy the Vampire Slayer game.
Okay.
Tim messaged me. This is actually all in the introduction to Night Shift too. Tim messaged me like the next day and was like, dude, why are we not writing this game? There's nobody in the world that could write this game the way that we can. We have to write this game. And at the time, because I also am a staff writer for Trollord Games. So at the time, I was like, I am just so busy right now. I have so much on my plate. I can't really get into another project. But Tim knew what he was doing, and he knew that I would not be able to resist starting to work on it as soon as he put the bug in my brain. So like a week later, I had the system half written. And I messaged him and said, okay, let's do this, but let's do it right. Let's actually launch Lair Games, because it had been kind of floating around as a print-on-demand and PDF company for quite some time. But I said, if we're going to do it, let's do it right. We'll do it on Kickstarter. We'll do a traditional print run, the whole 9 yards. And he said, yeah, let's do it. So really, he's the one that kind of pushed to get this started. And then he and I wrote the game together. So
yes, I backed that Kickstarter.
Nice.
Got the book.
Well, thank you for your support.
Here.
We appreciate it.
You're welcome. That was maybe a year ago, a little more.
It was about 2 years ago, because it came out in the middle of COVID in 2020.
Yeah.
So last year we released the Night Companion source book.
Yes, I backed that one too. And then they sat on my shelf for a while, because we all know games are to sit on your shelf and look pretty, not to play.
I can't count how many that's happened to me. Yeah.
But we did get it out in the last couple weeks for my regular gaming group and played it. I thought I should actually play it before this interview. And we had a lot of fun. We only had one player go down.
Nice.
For some reason, he thought you couldn't cast healing spells in combat, because he had some healing spells.
Yeah, they're
like, what are you talking about?
Yep.
It's what they're for.
Yep.
So
fate points too. Did he not spend any fate points?
No, but I think we were using the quick start, and I may have neglected to emphasize.
Yeah, they are in the quick start. So
I told them about them, but then I didn't remind them.
Yeah, they're a really important part of the game, especially if you're. I mean, it depends, because the game has which the quick start kind of touches on this, but the game has 3 levels of grit that you can choose. Yeah. There's, your default, which we call realistic, but that's basically just for lack of a better term. It's a fantasy game. It's not realistic. And then we have gritty, and then we have cinematic. Mm-hmm. And so you select, like, you can mix and match. You can have like gritty firearms with, you know, cinematic hit points and, you know, so on and so forth. If you go full on cinematic, you're in like Lost Girl / Buffy the Vampire Slayer mode. If you go full on gritty, you're like in the Evil Dead mode. And then, you know, the realistic is kind of just the default standard somewhere in between. But if you're in realistic mode, fate points are like key to keeping your characters alive.
Okay. Well, we were playing, let's see, the first week we played the Tainted Blood. Da-na-na-na. Tainted Blood.
Written by Derek Stolting, and anybody who knows us from our Eden Studios days will probably know who Derek is, but Derek wrote that Tainted Blood.
And then last week we were playing the other quick start.
The one from the GM toolkit?
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
I believe so.
That's oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank on my own product name because I just refer to it as the GM's toolkit now.
By the Blood of the New Moon.
There it is, By the Blood of the New Moon. That's it.
So we got partway through that one last week. We just had the climactic scene to finish up. So we'll probably do that this week. Now, normally this game has descending armor class.
Yes, it does.
Normally I do not care for that. But you've approached the mathematics of it in a different way, kind of from a different direction. The math still all seems to work out the same, but it makes a little more sense. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, people have told us, and I don't know that this is literally true, but I guess in some sense it works. But people have told us that we have made THAC0 make sense in this. Basically, the reason we use low armor class is because everything in this system uses a D20. Everything that uses a D20 check, because as you know, there's 3 mechanics in the game, but the D20 checks that deal with combat and ability checks. It's always you're rolling a D20 plus your ability bonus plus other bonuses and trying to get a 20 or better. That's always how it works. Armor class, you also add the AC. So the higher the AC, the easier it is to hit a 20. So lower AC then becomes better.
Yes.
The AC kind of in combat, the AC substitutes for what in ability checks would be the difficulty modifier.
Yeah.
Basically.
So when you approach it from that direction, the descending armor class makes sense.
Right, because you're adding instead of subtracting.
It doesn't particularly make sense to me in the normal way of approaching it, but you've made it work. And if I ever found that for whatever reason I wanted to run a first or second edition D&D game using those rule sets, I think I would approach it in this way.
You could do it. I don't know that it's statistically identical to the way it works in first and second edition.
I haven't sat down and worked it out, but it just seems to me intuitively that it probably works.
Yeah. Tim is a statistician, so he ran the statistics on, like, he literally has a PhD in statistics. So he ran the statistics on everything in the game. And I don't think it's statistically identical, but it's certainly close enough for government work.
Mm-hmm. I did have a technical question. Some of the characters had an ability called Improved Defense, where the opponent gets a minus to hit them. Why is that not just expressed as an improvement to armor class?
It actually is all drawn from like the earliest versions of the game, where fighting men in the very, very earliest versions of fantasy role-playing had that, where for every point of dexterity above 14 became a -1 to hit them in combat. If you wanted to, you could certainly just subtract that from armor class. I think mathematically it would probably come out to be the same thing.
Yeah, it seems like it should, and it seems like it was just adding an extra step that I didn't need to do.
To us, armor class represents, armor that you're wearing. It represents other factors other than your dexterity or your combat efficacy. Whereas this improved defense represents your actual ability to evade blows. Okay. So it basically is just what it represents in the context of play, more so than what it represents mathematically and statistically.
Right. Because in some games you do, you take your physical armor and then you take your dexterity, which is your ability to avoid being hit in the first place. And
Right.
you sort of add those together.
Right. And in this game, only characters that have improved defense get to do that.
I see.
So yeah, if you wanted to, you could just figure it into the armor class. There's no reason mechanically why you couldn't do that. To us, it's just a factor of what it all represents.
Well, I think we probably would going forward because we had a tendency to forget, oh yeah, I have improved defense.
Right. And that would certainly help to, alleviate that.
So you got this game. There's a number of night worlds. Is that what you call them? Different settings?
Yes. Mini settings. They're basically there to show you the different types of things you can do with the game. The game does not have a core setting. Now, the City of the Twilight Queen setting, which the 2 quick starts are set in, and is detailed in our first adventure module, which we call a night trip, which is called a Faustian Dilemma. We're using that one as the setting for most of our adventure modules, but that's just so that we can have a point of reference. We don't want anything to be considered like the core setting of the game. Everything is designed to be put into whatever setting you want to play.
Right. And it did seem like those adventures could go pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
Any modern city. This is a little off the topic. Do you have a favorite monster?
I mean, I love werewolves. Ever since I was a little kid, werewolves have always been my favorite monsters. Yeah. Which is funny because I was just talking to Steve Chenault, the owner of Troll Lord Games, the other day, and he hates werewolves. So we were going back and forth about that because I absolutely love them. But werewolves definitely. And I also think, ironically, that werewolves are probably the hardest creature to actually pull off well in a movie. There have been so few really excellent, scary werewolf movies.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to street level monsters, as opposed to kaiju, I think werewolves are my favorite too.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about kaiju, I have to go with the all-time classic. I mean, it's Godzilla. It's just there is no other. So.
Yeah, definitely Team Godzilla when it comes to the big guys. But to the human-sized ones, I quite like a werewolf. When it comes to the old Universal films, Wolfman's my favorite.
Yep. And I love the fact that once they got into the kind of shared universe of the old black and white Universal movies, House of Dracula, House of Frankenstein, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, they're all actually about Larry Talbot. All of them. Dracula and Frankenstein are like off to the side and they're guest stars, but it's all really about Larry Talbot either trying to die or trying to get cured. Even Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein is about Larry Talbot. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
But one reason he's my favorite is because he's not based on a novel that is being, I don't want to say ruined, but poorly adapted.
Right. He's completely original.
Yeah. So they can do what they want with him and not mess anything up. And
I got to say, and I know I'm in the minority on this, and some of your listeners are probably going to like throw things at the screen for hearing this, but I actually quite liked the relatively recent Wolfman remake that they did. The one with Anthony Hopkins as Lord Talbot, and I'm having brain fog.
Javier, I think it was Javier Bardem.
No, it wasn't Javier Bardem. Crap! I'm just drawing a blank. But I thought it was quite well done. I mean, the obligatory werewolf on werewolf fight at the end was a little much, but other than that, it was very well done.
Benicio del Toro.
That's who it was. Yeah.
I enjoyed that movie. I thought it was perfectly fine. And again, better than any Dracula or Frankenstein remake that just, goes way off the source material.
Yeah, the last really good Dracula movie was Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Francis Ford Coppola one in the 90s.
See, I didn't care for that. They lost me at the title. If they had called it Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, it
does follow the book better than any other Dracula adaptation that's ever been done.
Not better than the Louis Jourdan one, but it does have Quincy Morris in it, and I appreciate it for that.
Yeah,
I didn't care for the sympathy for the devil approach to it. I think sometimes it's okay to just have a bad guy who's a bad guy,
I agree with that. Yes, and I was not crazy about the love story that they kind of ramrodded into it. Yes, I'll give you that. But overall, I really liked it. I thought it was well done.
And Keanu is often problematic.
Well, yeah, his English accent is rough in that. So is Winona Ryder's.
But hey, if you want to recreate that movie, you can use Night Shift to do it.
Right. And without saying anything specific or giving any actual announcements, at some point in the future, you might see something come down the pike.
Oh. Now, you implied you were going to do other things with the Ogres system. Are you working on anything in that direction?
I am actually. I'm working on our house fantasy game right now, which is going to be called Wasted Lands: The Dreaming Age.
Okay.
And it's going to be kind of H.P. Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard meet high fantasy.
Okay.
It takes place. This one is going to have a core setting, but it's going to be a core setting that can be easily divorced from the rest of the game if you want to just use it as a generic fantasy game. But it's going to be set roughly 1,000 years after the stars went wrong and the old ones went to sleep. The great old ones went to sleep, and humanity is trying to throw off its bonds and claim the world from the lingering minions of the old ones that are still around. And the shtick is that you will play. It's all going to be humans. We will have rules for elves and dwarves and such in an appendix, but in the core game, it's all humans. So you'll be playing, say, like a warrior named Woden, or a sorceress named Isis, or a witch named Tiamat, and you are the original archetypes for these figures that will go on to become remembered as the gods of myth and legend of the ancient world. And the game is going to have a series of what I'm calling divine touchstones. So as your character progresses through the GM's interpretation of the myths of the character that you're playing, you'll gain divine touchstones, which will give you powers over certain aspects. So if you're playing Woden and you choose war as one of your eras, you'll get certain abilities that will, give you power over the aspects of war or whatnot. So you'll actually be climbing the ladder, not to become a god, but to become the figure that people will remember as a god thousands of years in the future. So that's kind of the general shtick of it, but it will use the same system as Night Shift. It's become really popular among gaming companies now to say all our games are powered by the same system, but then they make serious changes to the system with every game. We're not doing that. The Ogre's system is the Ogre's system. So if you know how to play Night Shift, you will know how to play Wasted Lands. And in the future, we have a science fiction game coming that's way, way down the road, and I won't really get too much into it. But again, it'll be the same system. You will know how to play it.
Okay. And are you going to be kickstarting that?
Yes. Yeah, whenever it's done. Right now, I'm kind of buried in stuff for Trollord because we're doing a big new printing of Amazing Adventures, which is also my game.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, so I'm doing a lot of work on that. Is consuming most of my time right now. So I've had to kind of back burner some of the Lair stuff. I am hoping to get a few things out here pretty soon, adventure modules and some small stuff, just to remind everybody that we're still here. But
some modules for Night Shift, or
yes, Night Shift. Yeah,
okay,
Night Shift.
Good. Yeah, I like a pre-made adventure.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's fun to make them up yourself, but it's
unfortunately it's not my strongest suit as a designer, because I tend to write adventures for my home group, so they're just like disjointed notes, and then when I have to put them together as a script for other people, it takes a while.
Well, our group has played a fair amount of Amazing Adventures. I backed the Kickstarter for the 5th edition version of that. Okay. We played some of the written adventures that came with that Kickstarter. And then at one point, as some filler, I sent them to the Isle of Dread.
Nice.
And then when we got to the climax of the Red God thing, they fell through the portal and woke up in Oz.
Oh, that's really awesome. There's a company that's actually doing a 5th edition Adventures in Oz RPG.
Yes. There appear to be a couple of them, but I've backed one of them. So I'm like, well, that'll be showing up soon. By the
Yep,
time
I
we're
did
ready to
too.
swing back around to this game, because we kind of rotate our games a little bit. So
Yeah.
I'm like that. I have the PDF, but I like to have the physical book. So by the time we're ready to swing back around, I'll have the physical book probably.
Yeah, I'm with you. PDFs are nice to have for quick reference, but when I'm at the table, I have to use books.
Yeah. At the table, all my games are online these days, and we found it so convenient that we may never go back.
I hate online gaming. Just a personal thing. I'm not dissing anybody else out there that loves it. It's a very popular thing now, but I can't do it. I absolutely hate doing it. I've done it a couple times, and I found the process miserable.
Right. Well, of course, we kind of had to do it when COVID hit, but then we've had various players move away to other cities. And if we wanted to keep playing with them,
my group just shut down when COVID was happening until it all cleared up, and then we got back together again.
Oh yeah, no, we weren't going to do that. But I find I'm actually playing more online, more than I was before, because I don't have to pack up all my stuff and haul it across town somewhere, or my friends don't either. So they're more willing to jump into a game if they can sit in their underwear and play.
Yeah, it's absolutely convenient. There's no doubt about it. And there's some neat online tools with the VTT programs and stuff. I personally don't get anything out of it. I don't enjoy it, and I don't like the process. It's just a personal thing for me. I think that it's a great thing that it's out there and people can do it, and it's bringing people together in new and exciting ways. It's just not for me.
I would recommend, if you work with anyone who's good at that, to maybe see about getting a night shift character sheet for Roll20.
We're not looking at Roll20 right now because, quite frankly, Fantasy Grounds and Roll20 are expensive, and they're a nightmare to get developed for. Night shift is coming to Foundry.
Okay.
I have somebody programming it for Foundry right now. He says it's coming along really well. He's hoping to have something that we can test out pretty soon. Yeah. I can't say exactly when it's coming because that's at the mercy of, Owen, who's my programmer. But yes, it is coming to Foundry.
I think fans can just put up a character sheet. I've never worked from that end of it, but I know there's all kinds of partnership deals that people do, but I think also there's a bunch of character sheets that are sort of unofficial that a fan has just put up. We may do with a basic D&D sheet, I think, or old school essentials.
Yeah, that may be worth looking into, because as much as an old school basic D&D sheet would work for Night Shift, there's things that are designed on our character sheet that allow you to, like, you might not have forgotten your defensive, ability if you were using the Night Shift character sheet. So that might be something to look into if it's something possible. It's something that I'll definitely look into. And
I think you can just get a sheet up there without doing a whole big contract thing. And
all right, good to know. I'll look into
selling the modules online and stuff like that.
Yeah,
because
good to know. I'll look into it.
The whole thing. Well, Jason, thank you so much for joining me today. You want to give out your website?
Yes, it's just elflair.com. Elflair, all one word. ELFLAIR. Elflair.com. And you can find all of our stuff on there, including our print on demand and PDF stuff. So.
And you also work for Troll Lord Games?
Yes, Troll Lord Games. I'm the Amazing Adventures is all me. It's my game right now. Although we are starting to look at bringing some other people on to do some third-party stuff for it, but we'll see where that goes. But right now it's all me. So, and I do some work for Castles and Crusades, and I do the line developer for the 5e stuff. So yeah, that keeps me busy. That keeps me real busy.
Yeah. So you can find Amazing Adventures and Castles and Crusades at trolllord.com.
Correct.
And right now they're giving out the player's handbook for Castles and Crusades for free, a PDF of it.
The PDF is free, yes. Yes, because we're encouraging people to hashtag play CNC instead.
Yeah. And there's, I should mention, we implied this earlier, but there's two versions of Amazing Adventures. There's one that uses the Siege engine, which Castles and Crusades uses, and then there's one that uses the 5th edition.
5th edition, yeah.
Rule set.
Yeah.
We all
and
know
the Siege engine version, actually I believe the Siege engine version of Amazing Adventures is on a deeply discounted sale right now because we're gearing up for the third printing which is going to be on Indiegogo.
Okay. I did buy it all once when it was deeply on sale before.
Yeah, and actually we're really excited because we're giving it a major facelift for the third printing. So we're going to go to a traditional 3-book model with a player's guide, a GM's guide, and a monster book for it. It's going to be all in full color. It's going to be the same old game. None of the rules are changing, but it's going to be a very nice, very attractive looking reorganization and facelift for it. I'm pretty excited.
Cool. Yeah, I saw some of the mock-ups that just look kind of like silhouettes right now, but they hinted at big
yeah. We're on. If you follow me on Twitter, which I'm at Lair Jason TLG on Twitter, you can find the link to the Indiegogo for Amazing Adventures third printing. Yeah. So
I guess we should say Amazing Adventures. It started as kind of a pulp game, but now it's more of a generic modern fantasy
multi-genre game. Yeah, it was always intended to be our multi-genre modern version of the Castles and Crusades rules set, but by branding it with pulp, we kind of put it into a certain box that maybe we didn't really intend to. So we're basically just fixing that with the rebranding so that it's Castles and Crusades is our high fantasy D&D style, classic RPG, and Amazing Adventures lets you do anything else that you want to do with the Siege engine. So,
well, I get that, but it was the pulp that caught my attention. So,
right, and that's still going to be there.
What got me
definitely still going to be there. Yeah, the Brotherhood of William St. John is not going anywhere. So,
yeah, it was the guy in the rocket pack that caught my eye. So,
I don't know if he's on the mock-ups yet, but I think we are trying to squeeze him into one of the covers for the third printing. So,
cool. Yeah, I like that guy. Goggles and rocket packs, can't go wrong. Well, thank you again for joining me, Jason. Everybody check those out, elflair.com and trolllord.com. And maybe we'll talk about it some more when some of those projects we mentioned are ready to kickstart.
That'd be great.
And now back to the rest of the show. So, Honeybee, thoughts on Yongary?
I enjoyed the movie. There were a few points in the movie where I kind of felt like I missed something. Like, I would have to rewind it a little bit and be like, what the fuck is happening? Like, did I miss something? And I could never find out what exactly I missed. So there were like points in the movie that were just kind of confusing to me. And I was like, I didn't really understand the storyline so much in certain parts. Like, I couldn't figure out what the hell was happening, but they were far and few between. Overall, I really enjoyed the movie. I would say, as far as the kaiju goes, like I said, best Godzilla ripoff we've seen so far. It did feel very Godzilla-y, but they did add enough for me to really make it good. And I'd say this is the best costume that we've seen in any movie so far, Godzilla or not. Yeah, it was really good. I liked the mouth movement. There was this one part, though, where his mouth was opening. It was when the missiles were coming. When the missiles were, like, firing towards him, and his mouth was opening and closing, but there was no sound coming out. And I just imagined him, like, blah, 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 blah. Just nothing happening. So it was just, I don't know. I just had to, like, make up the own sound in my head, I guess. But I thought as far as like kaijus go, this was like 4 stars for me. As far as movies go, like a 3.5. I did like it, but it did feel very rip-off. The best one we've seen, but I did like it. I enjoyed it for sure. And like I said, I really couldn't let go of the kid's voice. Like, I made so many notes about that kid's voice and his lines. Like, there's this one part where, like, the boy is laughing. You can see the actor laughing. He's, like, looking up at his sister, and he's like, ha, ha, ha. And it says in the subtitles, like, Icho chuckles. And the kid literally just goes, ha. And I was like, is he not watching? Like, could he not see that? Like, I don't know. It really bothered me. There are so many times when he was just really monotone. Like, Icho's like the point where everyone's like, we're gonna go, with this chemical, and Icho says, I'll go too. And the like expression, like, he's excited, like he's gonna go too, but the little boy's like, I'll go too. Like, it's just so annoying. It really annoyed me. But other than that, sorry, I rant over.
No. That's okay. You rant as long as you want.
But that was the only thing I really didn't like was the dub voice of Icho and the fire throat that we could like see the mechanism in his throat was kind of annoying to me. But yeah, I thought it was good. What about you?
I enjoyed it. I didn't think there was much that was particularly, innovative or groundbreaking or anything, but it was well made. I liked it. I guess I'll give it a 3. Say it was okay. I think Sun-Ah does end up with Il-woo at the end, doesn't she?
Yeah, at the very end. So Icho is like talking to the reporters, and everybody's like, "Oh, Icho!" When Il-woo says that Icho's the real hero, and they're like talking to him, and they're like, Icho's like, "Man, I really wish that Yongary was here because he was good. He was only looking for food or whatever." And they're like, "What else do you wish, Icho?" And he's like, "I really wish my sister would just marry this guy already and stop like just pretending like she's going to." And she's like, "You little brat." And he's like, "I'm your little brother. I'm supposed to be a brat. And in a few months, maybe you'll make another little brat." And she's like, "A few months." And everyone's like, "Ah."
Yeah.
And then like the movie ends.
Yes, Icho does not have a clear idea of how long it takes to make a brat. Because he's like 2 months. Couple of months.
Yeah.
You're like, what? Yeah, I know there's a part earlier on where there's some excitement and then she hugs him and then catches herself and pulls away.
Yeah, it was really awkward.
So it's a fairly tepid romance like most of them. I guess the biggest romance is already over in the beginning. The couple that's just gotten married. Some romance happened off screen and now it's being solidified in the opening scene, but then keeps getting interrupted, so even they can't get on with business. In other kaiju-related content, did you catch any of that show I mentioned?
Negative.
Boo. Well, I'm going to go ahead and mention it, and you can give your input next time. There is a new cartoon on Netflix called Super Giant Robot Brothers, about a couple of supergiant robots who fight kaiju. And it's a lot of fun. It's only like 10 episodes. The kaiju themselves are kind of nondescript. And the designs are fine, but they don't have any personality or anything. They're just there for the robots to fight. The robots have all the personality. The kaijus don't even have individual names.
Dang.
Something in outer space is shooting kaiju at the Earth through a portal, and these robots have to fight it. We may discuss it in a little more detail once Honeybee has had a chance to watch some of it. Of course, when we catch up with ourselves and get to 2022, then we'll do a real in-depth analysis of it. But it's a lot of fun. It's very colorful. Apparently there's some innovative animation technique going on, something about rendering the motion capture in real time or something. I don't know.
Ooh.
But the two robots are Shiny and Thunder.
Cute.
And Shiny's the happy goofball and Thunder's the serious taking care of business robot. And it's a lot of fun. It's on Netflix, so check that out, folks. Let us know what you think about it. Let us know what you think about Yongary. Or anything. Send us emails.
Or anything. Let us know how you think about anything.
Email us at monstermoviefuntimego@gmail.com or go to anchor.fm/mmftg and leave us a voice message and we will read your comments on the air or play your message. We're still trying to have a Twitter giveaway, but we only got like 25 followers, so let's get those numbers up.
Every single 25 one of you.
What was that?
I said we love every single 25 one of you, though.
Yes, but we're not giving away those DVDs and Blu-rays until we get some higher numbers, up around 600. So spread the word, share the link, retweet it. Tell your friends and family. Badger them about it until they've all subscribed. So I guess that's going to wrap it up for Yongary. I have been Precious D.
And I have been Honeybee.
Remember to keep calm and seek shelter in basements.
And please, do not misuse science.
We will not see you, but you will hear us next time on Monster Movie Funtime Go.
Yeah, baby.
You've been listening to Monster Movie Funtime Go. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on your podcasting platform of choice. Our theme song is by the Texicano Folk Rock Punk featuring Lita Lopez. You can support the show, find links to our social media, and even leave us a voice message at anchor.fm/MMFTG.